Hello, housing class. Today we are going to be going to the bank. All right, so for today you have a set of notes. So what you're going to do is watch through this little PowerPoint as I explain things, because as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be covering three separate entities for this week. We're going to be talking about the bank, talking about what real estate agents do, and then moving into the inspection aspect of housing. So let's go ahead and get started. So go ahead and fill out your notes as I go through. So, in order to pay for your home, there are typically three things you need. Typically, a solid credit score, and it's not mentioned here, but also a solid credit history, making sure that you have solid employment that is maintained and can also maintain a paycheck to cover the home, and then obviously money. So, a general rule of thumb, old school, they used to say that the overall cost of the home should be less than 2.5 of your annual salary. So, for example, if, as you mentioned down here, if you make $30,000, 2.5 times 30,000 is 75,000. So you shouldn't really be getting a home that's over 75,000. That used to kind of be the old school conservative, very conservative mentality. However, now we're looking more into the monthly payment aspect. So if you look at your monthly payments, it should not exceed 28% of your gross monthly income. So, for example, if you're bringing in 36,000 a year, or not a year, but if you're bringing in, as you see here, $3,600 a month, you just multiply that by 0.28, and that brings $1,008 monthly payment. So your house should not cost you more than $1,800 a month. So getting approved, as we talked last week, your mortgage is your loan for your purpose of real estate, and getting approved typically gives you a budget. It lets you know how much house you can afford, and then also what type of housing you can get, because you know you may want a certain type of housing, but it may not be in your budget. So you want to consider that. So, what do lenders check? Well, first off, credit is very important. Lenders will check your credit history and your score. If you have you need to know that these are two separate things. So, your credit history is, what kind of credit you've had, whether it's student loans, credit cards, certain car payments, anything of that nature. That all falls under credit history. And your score is basically your credit worthiness and your basic ability to pay it all back. So you want to have an extremely good credit history. Based off what I'm seeing here in this little scale here, typically to get a house, you need to have good to excellent credit history. And the better your credit history, typically the lower interest rate you can apply for. So getting approved your job. Lenders will also check your employment status and your jobs. They want to make sure that you have maintained steady employment because if you think about it, if you're bouncing around from job to job and you go ahead and you get approved for this loan, you bounce around from job to job. What you're looking at is this employer is going to see it as, well, if this person bounces around from job to job and doesn't maintain steady employment, are they going to be able to afford this house should they end up going to a different job and they don't make as much money, or because they bounce around from job to job, they may not get hired on at a new job. So it's things of that nature. And then you also want to make sure you're applying for appropriate amount of your loan as well, so making sure that your job can support this paycheck. So, along with your employment and your pay stubs, they are also going to want to see bank statements. So, lenders just want to check bank statements to make sure that you have the money that you say you have. So, they check everything. So, you want to make sure that you are 100% transparent with them about the money and making sure that they can get you approved for your loan. So for your class activity today, you're going to go ahead and submit these notes, but you're going to be doing the would you approve assignment. This is going to go over a couple of scenarios. So what you're going to do is you're going to check the credit scores, the amount of monthly earnings, and the amount of the house and the etc. So you're going to utilize your mortgage calculators and then explain whether or not you would approve a person for the loan. So if you think about it, what you're going to do is you're going to see all these different situations. And then you're going to check all this information. It's going to be there right for you. And then one of the big things that you're going to want to do is use a mortgage calculator. And you don't have to use the fancy one we used. You can use the simple one that was that's like if you just Google mortgage calculator, it'll be like the first thing that pops up. It's embedded into Google. And all you have to do is, plug in the information. You can base it off certain rates if they're not included, and then you plug it in, and then that'll help you find out, you know, the types of payments that are going to be used, or not the types of payments, but the different kinds of payments. You can also use the 28% rule. So if you find out, for example, you can use a mortgage calculator to figure out the monthly payment, and then based off how much a person actually earns, you can then compare the monthly payment to the 28% of how much they earn, in a month. And then if that monthly payment is less than that, it's less than 28%. So, there's a good amount of mathematics that can go into this, but it's not too complicated. So, what I want you guys to do is to work on that. And if you're having any issues, let me know. I will do my best to support you in any way that I can. But that is it for today. Turn in your notes, do this activity, and I will see you guys tomorrow.